When the maid discovered the guest was the hotel owner, you won't believe what happened next. The old Hilton Hotel stood eerily silent, its grand facade masked by shadows cast by an overcast sky. It creaked and groaned like a haunted relic of the past. Ghostly tales whispered through the dimly lit hallways, where footsteps echoed like warnings in the night. The air felt thick, charged with secrets, and Cynthia, the new maid, could feel her heart racing as she stepped inside for her evening shift. As she picked up discarded room service trays, she caught a glimpse of something bizarre. The lights flickered, plunging the corridor into darkness for just a heartbeat, but when they returned, an unsettling sight took her breath away. A tall man stood at the end of the hallway, face obscured in shadow, his outline sharp against the dim light bursting from a nearby room. There was a strange energy around him. Was it tension or something more sinister? With trembling hands, Cynthia felt goosebumps rise on her arms. She shook her head, trying to dismiss the anxiety clawing at her chest. This is just a hotel, she reminded herself, but the feeling of being watched burrowed deep into her bones. Flashes of the hotel's dark history surged in her mind: ghost surgeries, mysterious disappearances, and the long-time rumor that the hotel owner was somehow connected to all of it. As she rounded the corner, a door swung open. Suddenly, the man stepped forward. Dressed in a crisp suit and exuding an authority that set everyone on edge, he was the hotel owner, the very one Cynthia had heard whispered about amongst the staff like a ghost story. He was supposed to be away on business. The sight of him sent a shiver down her spine. What was he doing here? Just then, the elevator chimed, and her coworker, Alex, emerged, a knowing smirk on his face. "You're not going to believe this," he said breathlessly, glancing between Cynthia and the owner. "He wasn't meant to be here. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." Cynthia's heart raced as the owner's cold gaze locked onto hers, sending electric shivers through her. A strange mix of fear and unspeakable curiosity gripped her tightly. "Why are you here?" She wanted to scream, but the words caught in her throat, a lump of dread swelling as she awaited his reply. The hotel's mystery was thickening like an unresolvable puzzle, and it felt like the walls were closing in around them. What secrets were hiding beyond those doors? And why did the owner seem to embody every chilling tale she had ever heard? One thing was clear: this night was far from over, and something shocking lurked just beneath the surface. Cynthia hardly dared to breathe as the hotel owner took a single step towards her, his gaze piercing like daggers. Alex's expression morphed into disbelief, as if a revelation struck him. A fresh wave of fear washed over them both. "Are you lost, Ms. Ray?" His voice rolled through the hallway, smooth but with an underlying edge that made her skin crawl. He knew her name. Her mind raced, and she could barely comprehend the lurking dread. Could he know her secret, the financial troubles that had led her to this creaking fortress of whispers? No, sir. I was just on my shift," Cynthia managed to stammer, her voice barely above a whisper. She swallowed hard, willing herself to meet his gaze, but the shadows seemed to pull him deeper into darkness, making it harder to discern truth from illusion. "Good," he replied, glancing pointedly down the hallway where ghosts of history lingered. "You need to be vigilant here, especially tonight." There was something in his tone that made her stomach churn, an unsettling combination of warning and threat. "Tonight? Why tonight?" she blurted, her curiosity momentarily overpowering her fear. She had heard the stories, the rumors of sinister happenings, disappearances that had haunted guests for decades. His peculiar presence only stoked those tales. His lips curled into a cryptic smile, a slight chuckle escaping. "Because tonight, Ms. Ray," something is about to unfold. His voice dropped into a conspiratorial whisper, an invitation that felt more like a curse. And you will be right in the center of it all. Before she could question him further, Alex broke the spell with a nervous laugh. Come on, boss. It's too late for games. But his attempt to lighten the atmosphere only deepened her dread. Behind his seemingly carefree mask, even Alex appeared trapped in a net of apprehension. Games. The owner's voice was suddenly sharp, cutting through the air like ice. This is no game. It's a matter of life and death. The weight of his statement crushed the air around them. Cynthia's heart thundered in her chest. Life or death? Her mind raced, piecing together fragments of the hotel's notorious past. Guests who had vanished without a trace, stories lost to time, now felt predatorily close. She could practically hear the haunted echoes of those before her. Why are you really here? She asked, her bravado surprising even herself. A flicker of defiance stirred within, battling the fear tightening around her heart that he stepped closer, invading her space, and she instinctively took a half-step back. You'll find out soon enough. Secrets are best discovered when they're unearthed, wouldn't you say? His smile widened, yet it held a foreboding intensity that knotted her stomach. Just then, the lights flickered again. This time, a siren wailed in the distance, breaking the tension like glass shattering on the floor. What is happening? Alex exclaimed, his voice cracking as he glanced toward the elevator. It shouldn't be this chaotic at night. What is going on? Is the hotel in danger? The hotel owner's expression shifted, a dark thrill flashing in his eyes. Ah, chaos is just the beginning, my friends. You're about to witness something extraordinary. His words echoed ominously as the flickering lights went out completely, plunging them into darkness. Distant shouts floated in from outside, a cacophony of confusion that crept under their skin, with only silence surrounding them. Cynthia's instincts blared alarms. Something monumental was unfolding, for better or worse, and she had no idea what role she had to play. We need to get out, Cynthia began, but her voice faltered when she felt a gust of wind sweep through the hall, wrapping around her like icy fingers. Then, like thunder, the hotel's ancient structure roared, a sound that seemed to be the very building crying out. Could she escape whatever darkness was unfolding? Or would she become another ghost of the Hilton Hotel, swallowed by its secrets? Face your fears, Cynthia. They are coming for you, the owner's voice echoed menacingly from the darkness. Suddenly, the ground shook. Violently, scattered with fear and uncertainty. And her only thought was, who would emerge unscathed when the dust settled? Would she, the maid, become a player in this twisted game? As everything quaked around her, Cynthia braced herself for whatever darkness awaited, knowing the truth was just within grasp, teetering on the edge of revelation. The darkness enveloped them like a thick fog, smothering any remaining sense of safety. Cynthia could barely see anything, but she felt the weight of the hotel owner's presence coiling around her, suffocating yet magnetic. The low rumble of the building settling sent a shiver down her spine. What do you want from us? She called out, her trembling voice slicing through the oppressive silence. The question echoed, unanswered, and her heart raced like a wild animal attempting to escape. Just then, a flicker of light broke through, a feeble beam from Alex's phone. He raised it high, illuminating the swirling dust motes in the air. Cynthia turned, desperate, searching for a way out. All the tales she'd heard whispered among staff rushed back to her stories of ghosts, shadows, and those who had ventured into darkness, never to return. Cynthia. Alex's voice pierced through her thoughts, strained and fearful. We have to find the emergency exit. But what if he? She started, but the hotel owner's figure loomed closer. There was a shift in the air, a palpable tension rising between them like a wall. Please, do not be hasty, he said, his voice smooth as silk, yet laced with venom. You wouldn't want to miss the show. The show? Asked Alex, his tone laced with disbelief. This isn't a joke. People are actually in danger. A thunderous crash rang out somewhere deep within the bowels of the hotel, rattling Cynthia down to her bones. "We're not safe here," she gasped. This time, she took Alex's arm, pulling him toward the staircase. "We need to run. Now." As they stumbled away, the harsh whispers of the owner curled back into her mind. What secrets are buried here? What does he mean? As the pounding of her heart echoed in her ears, every shadow seemed to whisper back a promise of unveiling nightmares. They dashed into the stairwell, where flickering emergency lights buzzed to life. Each step down sent vibrations through the ancient concrete, and with every descent, the weight of dread increased. She could hear heavy footsteps above them, almost taunting in their resolve. Outside, chaos erupted. The sirens wailed louder now, mixing with panicked shouts. She pressed forward, desperate for fresh air, tuning into the cacophony of confusion beyond the hotel's thick walls. Before she could catch her breath, an ominous shadow loomed ahead. A figure appeared at the threshold of the exit, tall, dark, and cloaked in menace. The owner blocked their way out, a smirk dancing on his lips, lit just enough by the emergency lights to reveal something akin to madness in his eyes. "Did you think you could leave?" he mused, amusement dripping from his voice. "Not without understanding the truth of this place. Get out of our way," Alex demanded, stepping forward, fueled by pure adrenaline. With a leisurely gesture, the owner silenced him. "The game has only just begun. You both are uniquely positioned to witness what is about to unfold." Cynthia's heart dropped, a knot tightening in her stomach. She couldn't shake the feeling that this entire night had been a setup. A sinister scheme tangled in desperation and deceit. "What are you talking about?" she cried, fear igniting her words. Suddenly, the lights blared back on with a violent flash, blinding them briefly. And when she regained her sight, everything had changed. The walls around them seemed to breathe, shifting like a living entity, and then the unmistakable sound of laughter echoed through the corridor, winding through the hotel like a twisted spiral. It wasn't just the hotel owner. There were others. "Welcome to the grand unveiling," he declared, the darkness around them shifting into something grotesque. Cynthia stood frozen, her heart threatening to break free from her chest as chaos erupted around her. Who were these people? What did they want? And as the realization sunk in, every fiber of her being screamed that the night had morphed beyond anything she could comprehend. "Cynthia, we have to!" Alex shouted, but was drowned out by the crescendo of madness enveloping them. What awaited them on this twisted journey? Would they unravel the secrets of the hotel, or would they become the next lost souls in its depths? The laughter hung in the air, dense and mocking, swirling around Cynthia and Alex like a fog. It made her skin crawl. There was no warmth, just a chill that snaked into her bones. She fought the urge to scream, instead clenching Alex's arm tighter, as fear surged through her. "Who are they?" Alex whispered, his eyes darting around, searching for an escape. The owner turned, and though the smirk remained, his gaze shifted to the unknown figures clustered in the shadows of the corridor. "Those who have chosen to stay," he said, a strange light flickering in his eyes. He gestured toward the figures, silhouettes morphing into something otherworldly. A woman stepped forward, dressed in a tattered gown resembling a long-lost era. Her face was pale, almost translucent, and her eyes glowed with an unsettling intensity. "Do you hear their whispers?" the woman asked, her voice echoing, as if pulled from a great distance. "They call to you, they want you to join the stories." Cynthia's stomach churned. "Stories? What stories?" The hotel owner chuckled softly. "We nourish ourselves on tales of despair and joy, on the very essence of life itself. Tonight, you're the protagonists." A sickening realization hit her. This twisted spectacle was more than mere chaos, it was a grim performance where lives could be rewritten by malevolent hands. "No. We're not part of your story," she shouted, her breath quickening. "Ah, but once you enter this facade, you can never truly leave." The owner stepped closer, and the figures behind him advanced, eyes dancing with exhilaration and menace. Shadows flickered around the room, curling towards them like predatory vines. "Get away from us!" Alex shouted, pushing Cynthia behind him as if he could block the darkness itself. But the walls pulsed and the laughter crescendoed again, drowning their thoughts in madness. "Remember, fear is only your light fading," the woman said, a cruel smile forming on her lips as she moved to the left, allowing others to step forward. "Embrace it and perhaps you may find your way." Hope slipped away from Cynthia's grasp, but in that moment, a glimmer of rebellion ignited within her. "No. We can't be your pawns," she cried, grabbing Alex's hand, ready to fight against the suffocating despair. Suddenly, a voice roared from behind the figures. "No one leaves. Not now, not ever. The hotel needs its offerings." The ground trembled beneath them as they swayed like leaves caught in a storm. "We need to run," Alex shouted, and without hesitation, Cynthia nodded. They turned to dash back the way they came, just as the figures lunged at them. A sudden jolt of adrenaline shot through Cynthia's veins. She yanked Alex toward a narrow corridor that snaked away from the others. The walls felt sticky, damp as they sprinted, the laughter echoing behind them like a banshee's wail. "Cynthia, we can't shoo. Just keep going." In the blink of an eye, they reached a door at the end of the corridor, its paint cracked and peeling like the skin of an old wound. Desperation clawed at her throat as she turned the handle, praying for it to open. With a deafening creak, it swung wide, revealing a vast room filled with mirrors reflecting endless versions of themselves. Their faces twisted in horror, the faint design of the hotel flickering behind them like a moth to the flame. "No!" Cynthia gasped, stepping back as she stumbled into Alex. "What is this place?" The heart of the hotel, the owner's voice boomed from somewhere deeper. "You'll never escape the truth of who you are. You will face yourselves." And just like that, the mirrors surged with light, illuminating their surroundings in a blinding flash. As the reflections warped and twisted, Cynthia felt her mind racing. What was waiting on the other side of the glass? Would they face their worst fears, or would they confront the shadows of those lost souls that had claimed their freedom? "Cynthia, look!" Alex pointed. They saw not only their own faces but those of people who had vanished long before them, trapped in an eternal loop, eyes wide with unspeakable terror. Cynthia's heart thundered. In that moment, she understood. The horror of the hotel was not just in its walls, but in its hold over the souls that passed through. Would they succumb, or would they defy it? With their breaths quickening and fears bubbling to the surface, they stood on the precipice of a truth that could either save or destroy them. Where would they go from here? Would they confront the horrors reflected back at them, or would they stumble deeper into the darkness? The choice loomed over them like a nightmarish landscape, waiting to unfold. The mirrors shimmered, creating a kaleidoscope of swirling images. Each reflection seemed alive, pulsing with the echoes of stories better left untold. Cynthia's breath caught in her throat as eyes that were not her own stared back at her, pleading, threatening, laughing. It felt as if the souls trapped within had reached out, weaving their despair into the air around her. "Cynthia, they're watching us," Alex said, his voice trembling. "What do we do?" She swallowed hard, her heart a wild drum. "We face them." It wasn't a choice, it was a necessity. They had to confront the truth, or be swallowed whole by it. As she stepped closer to the nearest mirror, Cynthia saw the reflection of a woman who looked just like her but twisted in terror. That version of herself mouthed silent screams, eyes wide and pleading. "We can't be them," Cynthia cried, but it felt like the walls absorbed her voice, adding it to the cacophony of despair. "Embrace your fears." The hotel owner's voice boomed from the ether, taunting her, echoing off the walls coated in memories. "Only then will you break free. Only then will you be reborn." Cynthia could feel the heat of his gaze like a weight on her shoulders. It filled her with a reckless anger. "I want to be reborn into this nightmare." She turned to Alex. We need to find a way out. Any way. Now. In an instant, the reflection of a room burst into clarity within the mirrors. It was a room they recognized, the lobby they had arrived in. Where there was once life, can be life again, the woman in tattered attire from before echoed softly, her voice a haunting melody that pulled at their very souls. Are you saying we can escape through there? Alex asked, heart racing against the tightening grip of fear. Only if you truly wish to leave. The woman smiled, but it was a slow, calculated smile, a trickle of malevolence dripped from her words. One must stay to balance the scales. Cynthia felt a cold flash of realization. Someone must stay behind. No. Alex shook his head vehemently. We can both get out. We have to. We can't leave anyone behind. But the figures around them began to converge, whispers turning into a roar of demands. Choose. They cried. Choose who will take their place among us. The pressure closed in around Cynthia, grasping at her arms, pulling her toward the mirror. She felt her mind splintering, the conflicting thoughts tearing at her. She glanced at Alex, who looked desperate, scared. Cynthia, don't let them take you. And I want tea. She felt a fire ignite in her chest, determination fueling her blood. But I won't let you stay here either. We refuse to play their game. With every ounce of strength, she shoved herself between Alex and the mirror, pushing against the forced pull. Gasps echoed from the soulless onlookers as she forced her will against the darkness. Tell me. She yelled, voice rising above the chaos. What do we need to do? Pause. The laughter halted, replaced by a ghostly silence. You must confront your past, and choose what you're willing to let go, the woman whispered, stepping closer, the glow of her eyes flickering like a dying ember. Cynthia and Alex locked eyes, an unspoken agreement hanging thick between them. They didn't need to know the entirety of their pasts, they only needed to stand together against the tide. But as they prepared to plunge into the depths of the shadows before them, the ground trembled again, sending a jolt through the air. The images in the mirrors twisted faster, distorted faces screaming for release as the hotel owner laughed, a deep, echoing sound that rattled the very core of them both. Are you ready to choose? He demanded. The foundation shook, and as the light from the mirrors coalesced into a beam, Cynthia felt something stir within her. Memories long buried began to surface, things she de-buried, fears she de-masked. Would she face them head-on? Cynthia. Alex's voice broke through her thoughts, panic rising in his tone. Then, out of nowhere, a loud crash shattered the tension. A figure crashed through the mirror, shards raining down around them, spilling forth a shadow even darker than the figure surrounding them. Get ready! Cynthia shouted, heart racing, ready to fight whatever emerged. But could they survive? Or would the hotel claim them as it had so many before? The figure that emerged from the shattered mirror was cloaked in darkness, the edges of its form blurring as if refusing to be defined. Cynthia's heart pounded in her chest, pumping adrenaline through every nerve. It stepped forward, a haunting silhouette, and then, as if unraveling like a thread, it became clearer. It was a man tall, with hollow eyes and a grin that revealed too many teeth. The hotel owner? No. This was something worse, an echo of the very darkness that pulsed within the walls. Welcome, welcome. He crooned, his voice dripping with mockery. I've been waiting for you to break. Who are you? Alex shouted, his back pressed against Cynthia's, ready to face this nightmare together. I am every fear you've ever had, the Shadow Man replied, each word slicing through the air. I am what you leave behind, what you refuse to face. Now, it is time to choose. Cynthia felt a cold wave of dread wash over her. The shadows in the mirrors flickered, creating a dance of distorted images, each one more horrific than the last, her childhood fears, her teenage insecurities, the regrets of adulthood. They demanded her attention, each a piece of her fragmented soul longing for recognition. Don't listen to him. Alex urged. He's trying to manipulate us. The shadow smirked, eyes glinting with malice. Oh, but it's not manipulation, dear boy. It's revelation. The truth lurking beneath the surface. You both must choose what to sacrifice, who to leave behind to pay the price of your escape. Never, Cynthia hissed, summoning every ounce of strength. We won't fall for your tricks. But uncertainty crept in like a fog. Each reflection in the mirrors nudged her mind, reminding her of dark moments she had locked away. They tugged at her heart, accusing and pleading. The ground beneath them rumbled with a powerful intensity, shaking her resolve. Cynthia, we have to act. Alex yelled, fear bubbling beneath his calm facade. But all around them, the muffled screams of the souls trapped in the mirrors rose up in a chorus of despair, weaving their influence into her thoughts. Show me what you're willing to sacrifice, the shadow echoed, his grin widening. It's time for a reckoning. Make your choice swift, your time is dwindling, the woman from the tattered attire, still trapped in the mirror, pleaded quietly, her voice drowned out by the wails. Cynthia felt a surge of desperation. I refuse to let this place dictate my fate. She grabbed Alex's hand, squeezing his fingers tightly. We face this together. Whatever it is, we face it together. The shadow's laughter reverberated off the walls, mocking their resolve. Together? How sweet! But make no mistake, one must pay to free the other. Suddenly, the mirrors cracked even more, breaking into a million shards that reflected grotesque versions of themselves. Images of betrayal, shame, and old grudges reflected back, more real than ever. It was then Cynthia realized that this wasn't just about escape, it was about redemption. Look within. She shouted, voice fierce against the chaos. We have to confront the pain, Alex. Face it head on. The shadow lunged, but Cynthia pushed her fears forward, forcing her past onto the glassy surface. Memories swirled, tangling with the shadow, a childhood friend lost to neglect, a betrayal that had left her raw, a constant need for approval that warped her identity. Let it in. She cried, eyes blazing with defiance. Let it be your strength. The shadows gasped, retreating momentarily. Then, with a roar, they surged back, a tidal wave of voices that demanded to be heard. Splintered reflections blurred the line between who they had been and who they could still be, but then, just as hope flickered, the hotel owner's laughter erupted again, this time more sinister. You cannot embrace what you hate. Choose, or it will choose for you, and the price will be far greater than you imagine. A blinding light shot from the mirrors, forcing Cynthia and Alex to shield their eyes. The laughter echoed and twisted into a cacophony of torment, drowning out all thoughts. Cynthia, hold on. Alex yelled just as the light enveloped them. But as the darkness swirled and twisted around them, one final question hung in the air, cold and cutting. What were they truly willing to sacrifice to escape? It was a question that would haunt them both, a truth yet unspoken. The blinding light enveloped them, a searing flash that swallowed all sound and vision. Cynthia's grip on Alex tightened, their fingers woven together as the world spun into chaos. It felt like falling through a tunnel of screams, memories, and flashes of light. She thought she could hear the echo of their own voices, distant yet desperate. Suddenly, as swiftly as it started, the light vanished. They landed harshly on a cold, hard floor. Cynthia blinked, trying to regain her bearings. The space around them was disorienting, twisted and grotesque. They were no longer in the dimly lit hallway of the hotel but in a cavernous, dark hall, lit by flickering candles that cast long, dancing shadows across the walls. What just happened? Alex breathed, shaking off disorientation as he turned to her, eyes wide with fear. Where are we? I don't know, Cynthia whispered, taking in their surreal surroundings. But that she pointed to the wall ahead, where the shattered mirror still dangled precariously. It's not over. There was something alive in the darkness, something watching them, but it was not just the shadows that loomed, it was a palpable fear, stinging at her senses, like an impending storm. Cynthia, This place, Alex sounded uneasy, it feels wrong. As they cautiously moved forward, Cynthia felt a presence creeping behind them. She turned just in time to catch a glimpse of the shadow man, now less defined than before, yet his presence was more foreboding. He moved fluidly through the haze, an embodiment of dread. "You think you can escape?" he taunted, each word slithering into her ear, like venom. "I told you," she shouted at him, "I won't give in." The shadow man laughed, the sound barbed and sharp, echoing unsettlingly around the chamber. "Oh, but you will. It's not a matter of if but when." With newfound determination, Cynthia pressed on, dragging Alex alongside her. They moved closer to the mirrored shards, which now pulsed with a heartbeat of their own. Each piece seemed to plead, beckoning them to peer into their depths. "We need to find a way back," she whispered, struggling to keep her own panic at bay. "We need to confront what we've put aside," but the shadow man's voice interrupted her thoughts. "Ah, but faces can deceive. You think you can escape unscathed? The cost?" Her heart raced even faster as she faced him, breathing heavily. "What do you want from us?" "It's simple, really." He grinned wider, if that was even possible. "Your deepest desires, your long-held dreams, you'll have to trade them. Aren't you tired of carrying the weight?" Cynthia felt a chill run down her spine. What could she offer this creature? What lay buried deep within her, waiting to claw its way out? Could she face her past, her regrets, if it meant forging a future? "Cynthia." Alex's voice snapped her back to the moment. What if he is telling the truth? What if giving up something is the only way? She shook her head, unsure. "I refuse to believe that the only way out is through sacrifice, not if it means giving up my hope." The shadows stirred, wrapping closer and tighter around them, and the shadow man hissed, "Very well. But know this, the choice exists only for a heartbeat. And once you decide, you cannot go back." Feeling the weight of his words settle on her like an anchor, Cynthia looked into Alex's eyes, seeking reassurance. "If we're going to make this choice, we do it as one. Whatever darkness we face, we do it united." Underneath their resolve, a spark ignited, flickering brighter as the shadows pulsed. The shadow man slithered forward, his grin a jagged line of glee. "Then let the games begin. Choose, or be consumed." As he spoke, Cynthia noticed the mirrored shards reflected more than they had before. Through them, she could see glimmers of possibility and shadows of the price they may pay. The path ahead split into two, one dark and twisting, the other luminous yet obscured. Just as uncertainty gripped her, a scream echoed from the shadows, a clear, piercing cry that pierced through the twisted air. Who was it? A victim? A warning? Cynthia's heart raced at the revelation that lingered in the air. "We have to go, we can't wait. Someone needs us." But the very act of running brought the realization crashing down. In their struggle against the darkness, could they save themselves and someone else? The cost awaited, looming closer, the door to sacrifice ever opening. What would they choose to confront next? The truth was too close, surrounding them like mist in the night. But time wasn't on their side, and soon enough, they had to decide. Would they risk everything for a chance to escape? Cynthia's heart raced as the desperate scream echoed through the hall. It was a haunting sound, twisting around her gut like a vice. She exchanged a glance with Alex, whose brow furrowed deeper with each passing second. The urgency in his eyes mirrored her own fear. "We can't just stand here," she urged, her voice barely above a whisper. "Someone needs us. We have to find out who that was." Without waiting for a response, she took a step toward the darkened edge of the hall. The flickering candlelight warped the surroundings, casting elongated shadows that danced around her, feigning life as they flickered in mock urgency. Alex hesitated, glancing back at the shadow man, who stood grinning, his shape melting into the shadows. "Cynthia," he warned, voice trembling. "What if we're walking into a trap?" "Every step here feels like a trap," she snapped back, spinning to face him. But staying means letting fear win. We have to move. The air felt charged as they stepped toward the sound, each footfall echoing ominously in the stillness. The shadows writhed, amplifying their fear and doubt with every breath. "Stay close," she said, glancing back at Alex, whose face was pale but resolved. "What if we can't save whoever it is?" he implored, taking a deep breath. "What if we lose ourselves in the process?" Cynthia clenched her fists. "I'd rather fight and fail than sit back and do nothing." As they ventured deeper, the scream faded into a ghastly silence, replaced by the soft pulsing of the mirrored shards, now echoing like a heartbeat, drawing them further in. They emerged into a small alcove, the walls lined with shadows that writhed and squirmed like deep-sea creatures desperate for air. In the center stood another mirror, this one whole, an ominous portal reflecting not just their frightened faces but scenes from their pasts. The laughter of children echoed, a little girl with pigtails danced through a sun-drenched park. Cynthia's breath hitched, it was her younger self, carefree and alive. "Cynthia," Alex murmured, his hand slipping from hers as he stepped closer to the mirror. "Do you see that?" "Just memories," she replied, shakily. But she could feel the tug, the magnetic pull of joy and innocence calling to her, whispering promises of a simpler time, a life devoid of fear, but then the Shadow Man's laughter slithered back into her mind like oil on water. "Remember, the past can be a weight, or a weapon," he taunted, his voice echoing from nowhere and everywhere. "Feel the power of choice." Suddenly, a figure appeared in the mirror. It was the woman from earlier, her face twisted in agony, a ghostly silhouette trapped by the weight of invisible chains. "Help!" she cried, but her eyes were glazed, filled with despair. "You have to break the curse." Cynthia felt bile rise in her throat as the woman's scream intertwined with the fading echoes of her own laughter. A tension she couldn't grasp churned in her chest. She began but faltered, unable to find the words. "What if breaking the curse means letting go of what we hold dear?" Alex's voice stumbled out, thick with fear. "What if we have to sacrifice everything?" Cynthia looked back at the mirror, the woman's eyes pleading. "We don't have to choose now," she asserted, drawing strength from Alex's presence. "We can be smart about this." But doubt gnawed at her. Could they really? The Shadow Man hissed, slinking closer, his form blending and shifting. "Every moment you hesitate pulls you further into the dark," he whispered, chilling her to the bone. "Remember, time waits for no one. You have just a heartbeat left." Cynthia's pulse raced, conviction battling fear. Would they risk everything to save a life, or cling to their own, no matter the cost? Tension crackled in the air like static, leaving them poised on the edge of a choice. Without warning, darkness reeled forward, coating the alcove with a suffocating weight. As shadows clawed at their feet, she made her decision. "We fight. We'll save her, even if it costs us." But as she rushed toward the mirror, a statement echoed through her mind: "You cannot escape the darkness without facing it first." The mirrored surface rippled, threatening to pull her in, just as a loud crash rent the air. "What now?" Alex shouted. Cynthia turned, dread curling in her belly at the rapid approach of the shadows, swirling ominously. The scream from the mirror intensified, the stakes climbing higher. Could they confront the darkness together? Or was it already too late to save anyone? The pounding of time matched the frantic beating of their hearts. As the shadows surged forward, questions loomed heavy around them, and the darkness grew nearer. A decision was just moments away. The force of the shadows hit them like an icy wave. Cynthia stumbled backward, instinctively reaching for Alex, whose grip was solid around her wrist. The world around them warped with fear, a shapeless mass pressing in from all sides. "We have to do something," she yelled over the cacophony of thudding darkness and echoing screams. The mirror pulsed in time with her heartbeat, each thrum sending a jolt through her body. "Cynthia, we need to get out of here." Alex's desperation cut through the chaos, but the shadows crawled closer, almost teasingly, as if they thrived on their panic. "No!" she shouted, planting her feet firm. We need to face this. We can't let it swallow us whole. Face what? His voice cracked, steeling himself against the overpowering dread. An illusion? A curse? Or our own ghosts? The mirror sparked with flickering images, her childhood, her mistakes, the moments she wished she could erase. They engulfed her in a swirl of memories and regrets, all leading back to that woman's anguished face. It's not just our fear. Cynthia cried, rallying her courage. It's a chance to break this, whatever it is. The wall of shadow pressed against her, cold and suffocating, but within it, flickers of light danced as though fighting to break free. I can see it. She yelled, her breath hitching, the light. It's just behind the darkness. You're seeing things. Alex's eyes were wide, filled with disbelief and frightened determination. That's exactly what it wants. It's a trap, Cynthia. But she felt something stir within her, a sense of recognition, the warmth of hope burgeoned in her chest. Can't you feel it? There's something more. We can't turn away. Suddenly, the shadow man stepped into view, his laughter echoing through the alcove like nails on a chalkboard. So brave, so foolish. You're merely puppets in this game. He towered over them, eyes gleaming with malicious intent. And there's only one way to win. Choose the light, or choose yourself. Cynthia took a step forward, propelled by a force she didn't fully comprehend. We call on the past, not to be weakened by it but to be stronger. With that declaration, the flickering lights intensified, their soft glow illuminating the dark contours of the alcove. Don't! Careening shadows lashed out, attempting to rip her back. Cynthia felt them claw at her skin, sinking into her very soul. The pain shot through her, raw and scorching, but she kept her gaze fixed ahead. Beneath the pain, she found determination. We can do this together. Cynthia! Alex shouted, but his voice was now muffled by a shimmering haze that seemed to envelop them both, beautiful and terrifying. The chaos formed a thick fog, separating them, but she could still hear him. Please, don't do this alone. The grasp of shadows tightened around her, suffocating and relentless. But she thought of the woman in the mirror, of her anguish and the curse she had endured. No more running. The words burst from her lips with newfound conviction, the mirror seemed to echo her declaration, rippling with energy. She reached out, her hand trembling as she bid farewell to her deepest fears, letting them dissolve into the light, drawing ever closer. Take my hand, Alex. Whatever happens, we do this together. She felt his warmth press against her side, hesitating just for a moment before their palms collided. In that instant, the world erupted into a blinding flash of brilliance, casting the shadows back into an abyss. The scream pulsed through the air, shifting into something almost hopeful, yet lingering just on the edge of recognizable, a twisted memory of hope mixed with despair. A moment suspended in time. Cynthia. Alex's voice cut through, frantic. What's happening? The shadows recoiled, unleashing a feral howl that echoed around them, and Cynthia could feel the weight of her choice crashing down. Whatever happens, we stay together. She shouted, her heart racing. Then the mirror shattered, an explosion of light splintering into pieces, swirling the shadows into oblivion. But within that chaos, Cynthia could see a figure emerging from the fragments, a flicker of light, alive and desperate. Help me! The woman's voice called out, a harbinger of dread and urgency. An indescribable force pulled at her, and time slowed as she made her choice. But in that moment, the ground beneath them quaked, and a new darkness loomed just beyond the shattered mirror. You're still playing my game, the shadow man trembled, losing his grip but not his power. Prepare for your reckoning. Wherever this goes, Cynthia whispered fiercely to Alex, we face it together, or not at all. And as a terrifying roar erupted, blending with the shadows, they steeled themselves for what would come next. Would they be ready to confront the ultimate cost of their choice? Or was destiny already sealed in the remnants of the dark? The ground quaked violently beneath them, but Cynthia stood steady, her heart pounding with determination. The shattered mirror lay around them, a tangle of glittering shards reflecting not only their frightened faces but glimpses of the harrowing shadows they had faced. The darkness pulsed, lurking just beyond the wreckage, insistent and hungry. Cynthia. Alex's voice trembled with urgency. We can't let it win. I know. She called back, connecting with his gaze. The bond they shared felt like a lifeline. We're almost there. The Shadow Man hovered at the edges of the chaos, his smirk fading as the light began to swell. You think you've won? He hissed, voice saturated with malice. All you've done is buy yourselves a moment. But Cynthia and Alex stood resolute, flooding their minds with thoughts of the hope lying just beyond the fear. The light, Cynthia murmured, staring into the kaleidoscope of shards. It shows us the truth. We have to embrace it, or he wins. The laughter of lost souls twisted in the background, a haunting melody threading through the air. Shadows whispered thinly, choose. The pressure of their collective past threatened to consume them once more, but Cynthia couldn't yield. She felt strength coursing through her veins, pushing her forward. Choose. The Shadow Man roared again, moving closer, his form ebbing and flowing as though the very essence of darkness. Sacrifice is the only path forward. Then let us build something new. Cynthia declared fiercely, taking a step toward the fragments of broken light. Together, we'll rewrite the story. A sudden wave of clarity washed over her as she reached out for the flickering shards. This is our choice, Alex. We're not erased by our fears, we rise above them. She immersed herself in the brightness, embracing each memory, each regret, each pain as part of her journey. With a loud crack, one of the shards shot forward, illuminating a passage in the darkness. Visions of their past began to swirl, revealing paths they could take but also paths they had already walked. The child with pigtails danced on the edge of the mirror, beckoning with innocent joy. The faces of people lost and loved hovered there, desires wrapped in pain. We can liberate them. Cynthia shouted, clenching her fists. And by doing so, we free ourselves. Alex's face lit with recognition. Together. Let us combine our strength. He locked his hand with hers, empowerment surging between them, warmer than the shadows trying to pull them apart. The light exploded into purity, breaking through the shackles of fear. Feel it. Breathe it. Cynthia urged, drawing energy from Alex's conviction as they stepped forward. Leave behind the burdens, they cannot define us. The Shadow Man recoiled, his form darkening with rage. You cannot escape. But they kept pushing forward. The waves of light multiplied, wrapping around them like a shield. We're not just escaping. Cynthia shouted above the growing cacophony. We are transforming. Suddenly, the shadows splintered as if the light had unfurled a tapestry of hope. Memories of laughter, of growth, of love intertwining with their pain began to soar above, drowning the shadows in beauty. Surge after surge of brightness overwhelmed the darkness, pushing it back gradually until Cynthia felt the overwhelming sweetness of victory begin to rise. Feel it, Cynthia. The light is within us. Alex cried, driving them forward as they plunged headfirst into the brilliance that swelled before them. A blinding flash erupted, a roar of sound that rattled the very foundations of the darkness. Cynthia strained against the force, refusing to let go, grasping tightly to Alex's hand as they pushed against the encroaching shadows. When the light settled, they stumbled into the once familiar lobby of the Hilton Hotel, brighter and alive with the murmurs of passing guests. The shadows had sealed themselves within the broken mirror, trapped and silenced, their call no longer echoing through the air. Cynthia gasped, overwhelmed. The hotel felt different, lighter, cleansed of its dark past. We did it. She whispered, incredulity mingling with joy. We faced it, Alex added, his voice low and amazed. Together. And as they took in the light blooming around them, they could see remnants of the lost souls, drifting away from the hotel, freed at last from the chains that had bound them for so long. The woman with tattered clothing caught their eyes, giving them a grateful smile before dissolving into the air, her chains breaking in the light. Other spirits followed her, floating away, each face reflecting gratitude, each glowing with the warmth of liberty. The hotel grew quiet as the last echoes of despair melted away, replaced by the friendly hum of guests moving about, unaware of the darkness that had lingered within its walls. Cynthia turned to Alex, breathless with relief. "What now?" "We move forward," he said, grinning widely. "Whatever comes next, we do it together. Always." They stepped out into the sunlit day, no longer haunted by shadows. The world felt vibrant, alive, a tapestry of stories yet to unfold. As they walked down the street hand in hand, their laughter intertwined, a shared victory echoing in their hearts. Each step ushered in new possibilities, new moments waiting to be lived, and though darkness would always exist, they knew they had the power to choose the light. Together, Cynthia reaffirmed, feeling the weight of something precious within her, a sense of belonging, of promise, of endless potential. As they disappeared into the lively crowd, the spirit of the hotel rang out, a final whisper of unbroken stories, waiting for the light to illuminate their paths once more. If you love this roller coaster of a story, you need to subscribe now. Don't let the next exclusive adventure slip away. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help us continue brewing more tension-filled tales. And flood the comments section with your reactions and theories. Let's keep the conversation going. Finally, share this video immediately with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Trust me, this is the moment to show your support, and every click helps us keep spinning these wild narratives. Don't wait even one more second.